Today we're going to talk about smiley face tricks. These are writing techniques that really all great writers incorporate into their writing, whether they know it or not. And they're really going to benefit you for your narrative paper as well as your persuasive paper that you're writing. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, in both of these writings, I want you to show, don't tell. For instance, I don't want you to tell me that the dress code is unfair. I want you to show and illustrate that it's unfair. Here's another example. He's an old man who lives in an old man kind of house. He's sort of big, he wears glasses, he uses a walker, and his hair is white. Okay, well, you've just told me. And this is pretty much what he's looking like. Now I want you to show me. The tennis balls on the bottom of his walker mute the scraping sound of metal on wood as he scoots his way from the crochet blanket-covered recliner to the front door. Annoyed that he has to move, his every step is accompanied by mumbles, grumbles, and grimaces, which are made even more prominent by his sagging skin, deep wrinkles, and thick black glasses. As he shuffles to his destination, he pauses to admire a picture of a beautiful woman in out-of-date attire. Pleasant memories must float through his mind, for the grimace momentarily turns to a genuine smile. There's a drastic difference between this and this. And that's that really in this passage, it's being illustrated to you what he looks like, what he acts like, his surroundings. And through all these various writing techniques, which I'm going to explain in a few minutes, the author is able to produce an image in the reader's mind. So let's talk about the various smiley face tricks. The first one we're going to talk about is specific details for effect, which is what's been happening here. Specific details for effect is taking a piece of writing, you deciding if you're doing characterization, maybe you are giving information about a controversial issue such as the red light cameras, something like that, or maybe it's setting. And you're going to give specific details in order to make an effect on the reader. It's going to make it so that it stands out in the reader's mind more prominently. So you may be asking, how do I do that with a red light camera discussion? Well, discuss how. When when the green light turns to yellow, suddenly you have cars that are both gunning it through the intersection in order to avoid being captured by the camera, but also slamming on the brakes to make sure that they're not in the intersection when that camera goes off. And as a result, you end up with chaos and possible injuries and accidents. So give the specific details. Use your descriptive words, even though it's a persuasive piece of writing, because that's how we persuade effectively. We really use descriptive words. We appeal to emotions, and the way to appeal to emotions is to paint pictures in people's minds. Okay, the next is a hyphenated modifier. This is probably one of my favorites, just because it's unique. But a hyphenated modifier is a modifier, so it's an adjective or an adverb, but it's an adjective or adverb that isn't a single word, and there's no single word in the English language to describe it. So for instance, the first example I have here is, it was another sit till your butt's numb school day. You all know what that is. It's you're sitting in a seat 8 hours out of the day. You get to stretch, during the passing periods only. And by the end of the day, you're like, I don't ever want to sit again. Well, there is no single word for that. So instead, I have sit till your butt's numb. You'll see that here. Sit till your butt's numb. So all of these are hyphenated together to bring them into a single word, and they're modifying school day. They're describing the type of day. The next example is, the laundry detergent gives our clothes an oh so fresh scent. Okay, oh so fresh is being hyphenated together to describe the type of scent. And finally, I'm sure all of you have received one of these from mom or dad at some point, but mom loves to give I'm the boss lectures. I'm the boss is describing the type of lecture. Again, there's no single word in the English language that really captures that I'm the boss type of description. So that's why the hyphenated modifier is beneficial. Now, obviously, you don't want to have hyphenated modifiers in every sentence in a paper. You probably don't even want to have them necessarily in every paragraph, but they are a wonderful tool to have in your toolbox, and they're great to just throw in there every once in a while. Yes, you can put this in a persuasive piece. Yes, you can definitely put it in a narrative piece, but I've even seen them in magazine advertisements, newspaper articles. It can be in your more formal writing as well. The next I want to talk about is utilizing literary devices in your writing. Obviously, we have an array of literary devices in our toolbox. Simile, metaphor, personification, hyperbole, which again is a great exaggeration. For instance, some of you might be thinking, this video is taking forever. Well, it's not really taking forever. It just feels like it. That's a hyperbole. Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is when you have a word that when you pronounce it, it sounds like the actual sound it's making. So for instance, clap would be onomatopoeia. Oxymoron, when you have two words side by side that meet complete opposites. So wise moron would be an oxymoron. Irony, imagery, and then allusion. Remember, allusion is a reference to something outside of the literature that's well known. So here's a paragraph that's incorporating many of these things. Being the perfect child that I am, I spent my Saturday night sitting at the child-sized desk in my room, studiously studying for my chemistry test. All was going well. I had managed to memorize the first two columns of the periodic table, when suddenly my bedroom door creaked open and my slimy, no-good brother slithered into the room like Randy in a horrific attempt to steal screams from little children. This child monster thought he was going to scare me, but... So here we have perfect child. Obviously, this is a hyperbole. There is no such thing as a perfect child. There's no such thing as a perfect human. Then we have this imagery of being in a child-sized desk in the room, studiously studying for my chemistry test. Then we have the door creaked open. Again, we have imagery there, but also creaked is onomatopoeia. And my slimy, no-good brother, again, descriptive writing, a hyphenated modifier, slithered into the room. Obviously, this is good imagery, really strong word choice there. Like Randy in a horrific attempt to steal screams from little children. Well, that there is a reference, it's an allusion to Randy from Monsters, Inc. And then child monster would be an oxymoron. Okay, the child monster thought he was going to scare me. So here, through the use of literary devices, we've got a lot going on that's describing imagery. It really is helping illustrate, show, not tell. And that's ultimately what everything is about here. We want to show our readers what's going on, not just tell them, because when we tell people things, it's boring and they zone out. All right, repetition for effect. Now, please keep in mind, this is different from redundant word choice, and it's also different from, this need to vary the beginning of your sentences. Repetition for effect is repetition with the purpose of giving an emphasis on something or creating an effect. So it's there intentionally, not lazily. And what I mean by that is I don't want you to just say to me when you get a paperback and I've said that you need to vary the beginning of your sentences, well, it was just repetition for effect. If I've mentioned that, then it wasn't effective. You need to make sure your repetition for effect is effective. So here's an example. I'm going away from this place, away from my disapproving mother, away from my annoying brother, and away from this infernal heat. Okay, obviously we have the repetition of the word away, and we have this repetition of these phrases, away from, away from, away from. And with this repetition, it's actually pushing the reader away. It's getting them the sense of, no, I don't want any more. I'm pushing it away. I'm going away from this. I'm not going back. And so it really adds an intensity to the tone. There's a very famous example of repetition for effect, and it is the I Have a Dream speech. Martin Luther King and a lot of other speech givers, especially politicians, use repetition for effect. One of Obama's greatest accomplishments probably was, saying hope, change in all of his speeches, and that is what got him elected. He really repeated it for the effect of that I will provide hope and change for this country. But Martin Luther King, he said, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together on the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even in the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. And this is just an excerpt of the speech. He continues this repetition of, I have a dream. And the purpose is to emphasize a new point, but also emphasize that none of this has actually become true yet. It's all a dream. It's all something he's wanting to be true, and that he sees it happening in the future, but it has not happened yet. And obviously this is full of other smiley face tricks that we've talked about so far. We've got the specific details for effect. We also have some literary devices in here. So again, good speech writing also shows it doesn't tell. All right, one more for today, and that is the Magic 3. Magic 3 is 3 parallel groups of words, usually separated by commas, that create a poetic rhythm or add support for a point, especially when the 3 word groups have their own modifiers. So this is not a list of 3 things. This is not, I went to the store to get milk, eggs, and sugar. Instead, it would be, I went to the store to get milk for the baby, eggs for dad, and sugar for cookies. Now it's being modified. It's describing, it's showing. It's not just telling anymore. So for instance, teachers are supposed to share knowledge, set examples, and support students, not belittle students, pick favorites, and destroy self-esteem. I use this example because I want you to realize that this Magic 3 can really be beneficial in the persuasive paper. Okay, you want to give multiple examples. You want to give multiple supports. So here we've got teachers are supposed to share knowledge. So share is describing knowledge, set examples, and I'm sorry, share is not modifying knowledge. It's a verb. Share what? Share knowledge, verb, set examples, and then support students. So notice I have this, verb, noun, verb, noun, verb, noun. Then I have verb, noun, verb, noun, verb, noun. So they're all the same grammatical pattern. That's what makes them parallel, but they're not supposed to belittle students, pick favorites, and destroy self-esteem. Here's another example. This one would probably be in a narrative, not a persuasive, but if I had a sticker on my shirt that said loser, or if my hair looked like a zombie's, or if I had spinach stuck in my teeth, she would tell me the truth no matter what. So take a minute and I want you to think, not only is this a Magic 3, but what other magic or smiley face tricks are being utilized here? Yeah, we've got repetition for effect, if. We also have literary devices. We've got a simile, but then we definitely have imagery as well and these specific details. All right, I lied. Here's one more, just a little bonus. This is called expanding the moment. This is slightly different from specific details for effect because it's taking a motion, it's taking a moment in time and really stretching it out and giving it a lot of detail. Think about when you're watching a movie or a TV show and they say that it took a minute, but it took 5 minutes to watch. It's that expansion of time. A perfect example of this would be the Titanic. The movie was longer than it took the boat to sink. So especially the sinking part of it, they were expanding the moment. They were trying to capture all elements of it. And that's what you're going to do with expanding the moment in your own writing. So instead of just simply saying, he refused to get on the bus, do this. The yellow doors flung open, and he stood there staring at the enormous rubber-covered stairs. Screams, howls, and screeches, along with a horrific stench, poured out of the windows. The driver glared down at him and growled something vicious. Suddenly, Mommy's big boy wasn't feeling so big. Terrified of what he might discover within the yellow coffin on wheels, he turned and ran. So here, it's really giving that detail as to why he won't get on the bus. It's scaring him. So what you're going to be doing in class and for your papers is you are going to be utilizing these various smiley face tricks. I want you to start thinking about, well, how am I going to do that in my writing? Sometimes it's just going to happen naturally. Some of you are probably writing magic threes and don't even realize it yet. But other times, it is going to have to be very conscious. So we will be working on this in class, and I hope that you have taken good notes because I will be checking them during class. And I want you to also have those notes in class so that you can utilize them when we are trying to apply this. Have a great night.